When the Barbie film was released in 2023, it was nothing short of a cultural phenomenon. Even if you weren't actively seeking out info on this hot pink blockbuster, you still had a pretty good idea that it was happening. It even got to a point where the movie just seemed to market itself, with Instagram posts, Reddit threads, and TikToks ensuring that the movie stayed relevant. So it was to absolutely no one's shock that the movie did insanely well, with it becoming the highest grossing film of 2023 and sits quite comfortably at number 16 on the list of the highest grossing films of all time. With the strong themes of feminism, critiques of capitalism, and being enough, as well as its release alongside the comparatively dark biopic Oppenheimer, Barbie just seemed to resonate with everyone. Well, almost everyone. But when a massive multi-million-dollar film starts to critique social issues, especially those surrounding capitalism and consumerism, it does raise some eyebrows. Come on guys, let's go see if this billion-dollar film is a genuine criticism of our money-making culture, or if it's just a shallow attempt by WB and Mattel to earn the all-important trust of our bank account. Not that the execs at Mattel and WB would mind either way. I'm sure they're quite grateful for all the box office.
Money, 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 must be funny in the rich man's world. Money, 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 always sunny in the rich man's world.
Within the movie itself, the criticism of consumerism and capitalist corporations is mostly shown through Mattel's board of chairmen, and the B-plot in the film to get Barbie back into a box, which very much reflects many companies, especially those of the mass-produced media variety, who very much try to stay as safe and sticking to what works as humanly possible, very much a stay inside the box way of thinking. The whole aim is to literally place someone inside of a box. Messaging doesn't get much more explicit than that. Despite the characters basically just being a bumbling board of buffoons, the group in suits address and criticize through their performance the way companies seem to act towards the general public, putting on a smile for the audience while only really caring about the bottom line. The scene that establishes this the most is the boardroom scene. We see the men, most particularly the CEO, show their charming public persona as they attempt to coax Barbie into a giant box. A big criticism of large companies, particularly those who produce media, is how they handle diversity, and whether they actually care about portraying minority groups or are just doing it because it will get them more money. For instance, Disney has recently come under fire for minimizing and cutting queer storylines from their films and shows in order to make them more acceptable in more conservative countries, all while publicly showing support for marginalized groups. This same rhetoric can be seen by the Mattel CEO, as in this scene here.
Listen, I know exactly where you're going with this, and I have to say, I really resent it. We are a company literally made of women. We had a woman CEO in the 90s, and there was another one at some other time. So that's two right there. Women are the freaking foundation of this very long, phallic building. We have gender-neutral bathrooms up the wazoo. Every single one of these men love women. I'm the son of a mother. I'm the mother of a son. I'm the nephew of a woman aunt. Some of my best friends are Jewish. What I'm trying to say is, get in the box, you Jezebel!
This reflects the attitudes of many corporations, albeit through a more comedic lens, where their morals and attitudes seem to shift to whatever suits them in the moment. The chairmen are barely diverse themselves. All of them seem to be cut from the same mold, all of them wearing identical suits, aside from the CEO's pinker preferences, and very similar haircuts. All the men are also white, bar two people, and are all presumably straight, clarified by the line,
Every single one of these men love women.
The film also references their sameness with the chase scene in the lower levels of Mattel, where they all seem to run on a very coordinated and deliberate run, almost halfway between a jog and a march. The board also tend to say words in unison, further implementing their identicality and hive mind quality. This quality of masculinity within the boardroom is visually represented by the room itself, or rather the table that all the important business occurs. In universe, it's supposed to resemble a heart, which is on point with the Barbie theme. But the orientation to which it faces a camera alongside the more curved edge gives it a closer resemblance to a certain appendage of male anatomy that is often used to represent masculinity, which comments on the almost exclusively men-dominated company executives seen in large companies. A more explicit reference is when the Mattel CEO refers to the Mattel headquarters building as
This very long, phallic building.
The room itself is a large outlier from the rest of the Mattel headquarters we see in the film, as it's filled with warm and bright colours, a huge contrast from the office cubicles we see during the chase sequence. Even the usually bright red Mattel logo is a dark grey. The brighter colours in the executive area, contrasted with the darker environments with the low-level employees, portrays the often exhaustive difference between those high up in the company and those working beneath them, oppressing the lower-level employees while the higher-ups have a much more comfortable working experience. This power dynamic is also seen when Barbie visits the boardroom. As while all the executives stand up, the lower level Aaron Dickinson is forced to sit back down by the CEO. Aside from the chairman, however, the biggest example of consumerism critique is seen in Barbie Land itself, where the world is clean, perfect, and just a bit too sterilized, characterizing the seemingly perfect commercial world. This, along with the extended title-carded shots of Barbie clothing, and the commercial names such as Barbie's Dream House and Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa House, further criticize the over-commercialization of Barbie. Now, we can't really ignore how this film, which spends its runtime critiquing consumerism, has itself gained a lot of publicity and social buzz from its iconic brand name, Barbie. And while the film does poke fun at the unrealistic stereotypes that dolls enforce upon girls, as well as their capital nature, it didn't stop people from wondering if Barbie deserved to approach such a topic after being such a consumerist icon for decades, and making more of a joke out of consumerism in the film than the more serious depictions of feminism and patriarchy. As Current Affairs' Nathan J. Robinson puts it, the marketing campaign of the year is a kind of brilliant work of selective subversion, biting everything except for the hand that feeds it. Robertson also compares the film's message to the rebellious imagery of the 60s counterculture, in which Pepsi told young people that they were part of the Pepsi generation that valued freedom and non-conformity, and Apple showing pictures of people deemed non-conforming crazy ones, including Einstein, Bob Dylan, Richard Branson, Ted Turner, Amelia Earhart, Martin Luther King Jr., and John Lennon, implying that King and Lennon would have probably used Macs if they'd not been assassinated. Mattel is just trying to do the same thing but with Barbie. Barbie dolls were critiqued by feminists, but why not try to rebrand Barbie as a feminist icon so that when people buy Barbies, they feel like they're part of the project of female empowerment? And even despite the powerful messages the film puts across, this film probably wasn't greenlit with that in mind. As with the production of most licensed movies, the main incentive by Mattel was to expand the brand, both through its media presence and overall popularity. As Mattel's chief brand manager Lisa McKnight, who is actually a woman despite what the film would imply, put it, the Barbie movie could not have been a better proof point in our strategy to show that there is true value in unlocking the full potential of our IP. We want to fuel fandom, which will ultimately unlock more commercial opportunities. It's no coincidence that while people were rushing to social media to share their enthusiastic energy for Barbie, Mattel announced a movie directed by J.J. Abrams based on Hot Wheels. Although despite the commercial outlook, McKnight also assured that the film's critique of consumerism and Barbie's capitalist nature, as well as the film's unconventional approach to a licensed IP film, were welcomed by the company, stating that we wanted to create art, we wanted to create a cultural conversation. We are self-aware and we appreciate the jokes. The minute that Greta Gerwig, Barbie's director, cast Will Ferrell as our CEO, and we saw the way she was having fun with Mattel, we were supportive. Well, regardless of Mattel or Warner Brothers' intent, it is clear that Barbie worked amongst their target audience. Young adults and millennial women, many of them resonated with the film's feminist themes, although the somewhat hypocritical nature of the consumerist critique was mentioned by many in their reviews and thoughts. But at the end of the day, does it really matter? Is it really that big of a deal if a toy conglomerate makes a self-aware movie critiquing consumerist practices, some of which they themselves are guilty of? Especially if the film more heavily focuses on other issues plaguing society? Well, I mean, Mattel had 2 whole female CEOs, so can we really judge them?